All right, and we are live. Welcome everybody to another edition of Deconversion Stories. Today I am talking with a friend of mine whose name is Hopswatch. You might have seen his channel. If you haven't, he's got great content. If you're a beer connoisseur like myself, and that's kind of how I stumbled upon him, you can check out his channel link in the description below. And I've also put his Twitter name in there too if you want to follow him on Twitter, so you can be updated on every time he throws out a video on beer. But of course today, not that beer's a bad subject of any kind, but today we're talking about deconversions. So I want you to sort of take me back to when you were once a believer and what kind of led you away from that sort of thing. And I'll let you take it away, and then I'll just jump in here and there.
Yeah, great. Yeah, well, as I did kind of warn you, there is a conversion story to tell. It might not be that interesting, really. What I think is really interesting is the story around it. Just to start out with some background here, I live in Denmark. I was born here, raised here, from German parents, though, but not that really matters so much in this context, because it really doesn't. The interesting thing about my deconversion story, as far as there is a story, is that a lot of people see Denmark as a very secular, even atheist country. Also, people see it as almost a socialist country. That's a bit of a different story. But actually, there's more to the story than that. It's not that secular, really. And my deconversion story kind of revolves around that. So, well, yes, born and raised in Denmark, and we've got a state church here. So I'll just jump right into that and try to explain a bit about that. So we have a state church. And it's actually mentioned in our constitution, our grundlov, as it's called in Danish, that the People's Church of Denmark is the official church, and it is supported by the state, which means, which has a number of practical implications. The church is an institution under the state, and it actually serves a number of official functions for the state. For example, every newborn is registered, not necessarily in the church, but kind of through the church institution. It's the church that serves the task to register everyone who is born.
Now, hold on a second. Are you saying that everyone who's born has to be recognized through the church? Like, is there like baptisms involved?
Not has to be recognized, but it's kind of going through the church. It's one of the tasks of the church to register when somebody is born. Doesn't that precise? Not at all. And they're not registered in the church, but they kind of registered by the church as a newborn. Okay. So that's one task, so to say, that the church takes care of. Also, in Denmark, you can get married, for example, in the church, and that will serve as a legitimate marriage as soon as it's actually just made in the church. Priests in Denmark are actually clerks. They are official. They are official employees of the state. Okay. They have that function beside being priests, as long as they are priests in the official Danish church. Okay, so born in that system, so to say. I was baptized when I was just before I was 1 year old. So having babies baptized. No, I kind of didn't. I didn't at all. And this was a very, and it actually still is. It's a very strong tradition here in Denmark that when you have kids, you baptize them, because everyone kind of does that.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up, went to school, and I think everyone in my class in primary school was baptized. Maybe there was one girl that wasn't, because she wasn't confirmed later on, while everyone else was. So
maybe she was Jewish.
No, she wasn't. I don't know what she was, because she actually sang in the church choir, as far as I remember. But she wasn't.
Oh, wow.
She wasn't confirmed for some reason. I don't know the story, so I don't know the exact story about it. But that's kind of a digression. So almost everyone were baptized. Almost every one of us was later confirmed. The Danish church is an evangelical Lutheran church.
Okay.
When you're in the States, I don't know how it is in Canada, but if you're in the United States and you hear that it's an evangelical Lutheran church, some alarms and red flags may go off, but it's very very well institutionalized, and it's quite low key, I'd say.
Okay.
It's the state church is not what you would call a charismatic church. Mostly it's just really, really, really boring, as I see it. When you see the whatever's going on in the church, it's people will sit there, sing a few psalms. There'll be the preacher will say a few words about virtually nothing, and you leave again. There's some cool organ music, I might add. That's cool.
Yeah, I definitely do dig the organs that churches and stuff have. I think that makes a great sound.
And we have a huge tradition for that. You know, Johann Sebastian Bach. His teacher was actually from Denmark, Buxtehude.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so
I didn't know that.
And actually, Danes and Germans we are a bit in a fight whether he actually was German or whether he actually was Danish. But you can argue that he was either one.
Right. I think they're fairly close anyway. So does it really matter? He was a great composer, regardless.
Exactly. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And there's a lot of there are actually a number of composers who are partly Danish, who partly German, who are cool. Kuhlau is another one.
Yeah. One of my favorites.
Sorry for that digressing. But sorry.
I said one of my favorite composers was actually Edvard Grieg.
Ah, yeah. Well, he was Norwegian.
Yes. Oh, I know that, but still, I'm talking about composers. Yeah.
Ah, yeah. My favorite is Beethoven.
Ah, nice. I was always ever since I was a little kid, I was always a big fan of the whole Peer Gynt suite recordings.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I like that as well. Bartok is my other favorite composer.
Nice. I kind of like them all, really. Let's face it, that stuff influences the music that you and I enjoy, right? So.
It does indeed. Okay, but continuing here.
Yeah, we tangents here sometimes. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's fine with me. I kind of have that type of head, which kind of gets distracted. So
we like shiny things.
Ooh, yes, exactly, and squirrels indeed,
yeah.
Especially. Okay, so what is happening? Everyone gets confirmed in this Lutheran evangelical state belief that everyone believes in. Also, in Danish schools, we have religion. Actually, it's Christianity that we have as a subject. We have it as a subject in school once every week from day one.
Now, is it taught Just
from
what it's
first
about,
class in primary school.
They don't they're not preaching or anything, or they're just teaching you about the religion.
Yeah, you see that's kind of an ongoing discussion, because officially they're not preaching.
Right.
And I don't really remember that any of the teachers that I had were preaching, but you are kind of lulled into a tradition which says, if not directly, then definitely between the lines, that this one religion that we have is the proper one, the best one, and the others have it wrong.
Of course.
But it's I mean, it's not overt in any way, but it's as I said, between the lines. It is the Lutheran evangelical. It is the evangelical Lutheran Church and theology, which is dominant in Denmark, that is taught, and it is what's the word? Contrasted. It is definitely contrasted with other theologies. I mean, a big part of it is to explain what is the big difference between Protestant theology and Catholic theology, for example. And the image that you'll get from the Catholic Church is that they are kind of money-grabbing zealots who are preaching in a language nobody understands. It's very mystical and very strange, and it's just some priests which do a lot of magical things which are shiny and kind of weird, and you just sit there and you kind of experience it. It's kind of cozy, but you don't really participate in it. While we, the Protestants, or we all sing together of the Psalms, and the sermon is in the vernacular, and we have Bibles that are written in the vernacular, so that everyone can read it. And that was back in the day when, for decades, the Catholic Church had used the vernacular as its preferred language.
Sure,
but still. At school, I was told that in Catholic countries, in Catholic churches, they preached in Latin.
Oh, wow! Really?
Yeah,
I didn't realize
that's what we were told.
Spoke Latin.
Well, I mean, it is relatively new that they do preach in the vernacular in the Catholic Church, as far as I understand. But it's still half a century or so ago. So I remember you of course, you would know Tom Lehrer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course you do. And I remember one of his shows, he mentions that as something new in the Catholic Church. It's before he plays his Vatican rag. He mentions that the Catholic Church has decided now to have its sermons in the vernaculars.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, but I mean that's 50 odd years ago now.
Yeah.
That recording, so 60 actually. I think he's getting old as well, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know how much longer he'll be around, actually.
No, I think he'll turn 91 one of these days. Yeah,
I figured he was way up there in the late 80s, early 90s, or something around there. I wasn't sure exactly.
No, but point being, we were told these things about the Catholic Church, contrasting it to the Danish Church and how they get everything wrong and we get everything right. So there's an element of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So and it is difficult. So I read through as a preparation for this. I read through how the subject is supposed to be taught by Danish teachers, and it's and first of all, the emphasis is very, very, very strongly on Christianity. Other religions are to be included somewhere sometimes, but it doesn't specify when. So you can wait until the 9th grade. That's in Denmark we attend primary school for 9 years, then it's secondary school for some years.
Mhm.
But what you could do would be teaching Christianity for 8 years and 52 weeks, and the last week throw a bit of other religion in there, and you would actually be all right. So it's not specified how much the other religions are to be included at all.
Yeah, I guess because they're focusing on the religion of the state rather than all the other ones. Did they go into
they are indeed
denominations of Christianity? Did they do other ones like,
yeah, they would do a bit of that. I don't remember much of that in primary school. I don't remember much of that. The other church that there was pretty much the Catholic Church, and that would be the one that we were contrasting to. I didn't learn anything about the Orthodox churches, for example. I learned only very little about the smaller sects. I do remember the first 7 years I went to a local school where I grew up, north of the city of Aarhus. It's the second largest city in Denmark. Then I went to a school in the neighboring town. I grew up in a village just outside the city, and that school only went to 7th grade, so 8th and 9th grade I did another school a bit further away, a bit closer to the city of Aarhus. And I remember there that we were told about the other denominations. We were told about a little bit about the Baptists, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, all those. Mm-hmm. But I mean, only scratching the surfaces of those.
I'm sure they probably thought they were kind of lunatic beliefs anyway, like especially Mormon and JW.
Well, it wasn't actually that bad. What they did was we arranged excursions to these different smaller churches to do interviews with them and find out for ourselves. So that was actually quite good. But of course, again, there would be an emphasis on the differences between them and us, and how we were doing things better than they were, to some extent.
You're following the right path, unlike those heathens.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's never how they put it, but it was kind of between the lines, wasn't it?
Of course.
Yeah. So, point being also, the Danish church, as I did mention, it actually serves a number of functions that in other countries civil organizations or secular organizations would fill out. And thus there is a very strong link, also a very institutionalized link between the Danish church and the state, that I guess many people wouldn't be aware of when they think of Denmark as a country.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. When I think of countries like Denmark and some other ones there, I just instantly think of them as being more secular than religious.
Well, yeah, we would be, and well, the state endorsed religiosity. I mean, is also very minimalistic.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, for example, it's almost unheard of that anyone is excommunicated of the state church of Denmark. It's called the People's Church, by the way, and let's just stick to that. So it's very rarely seen that someone is excommunicated from the Danish state church, and they would definitely need to hold a position there for it even to be discovered. Right. That they differ too much from the theologies that they would be thrown out. I know
you have to do something really harsh, I guess, in order for that to happen.
the only example that I can think of is someone who was at the same time member of a different religion or a different denomination, some kind of new age religious stuff called walking towards the light.
Okay.
Someone who was a member of Walking Towards the Light was the name translated into Danish. And for that reason, that person was excommunicated, and that person was working inside the church, and that's the only reason why it was discovered. And when they discovered that this person was actually a member of an organization of a diverging theology, they couldn't be a member of the Danish People's Church anymore.
Oh wow! Okay.
But you had to. I mean, But the reason that the person was excommunicated was that it was discovered because he was at the same time working for the church.
Right.
So
what?
Yeah, well, so
excommunicate someone that's working for the church?
Yeah, as I understood it, that's the reason why it was actually discovered that he was also a member of this other organization.
Oh, okay.
So it's that way around. So, I mean, it would only be if someone actually discovered that you were, for example, a member of a different religious organization, that it would have any consequences. I mean, they wouldn't care the least whether you were believing something completely different than Christianity. If you were a member of the Danish People's Church and you said openly that you actually believed in Buddhism much more than Christianity, as long as you weren't a member of an actual Buddhist organization, and I guess a Buddhist organization that was also recognized as a religious community in Denmark, no one would take steps to communicate you.
As long as you weren't a member of any organization that involved that.
Exactly. You would need to actually be a member, and someone would actually need to discover that you were a member of a differing organization before an excommunication would happen. And as I said, I only know of this one instance.
Okay.
So membership of the Danish Church is not guarded heavily, I would say, not at all. Another thing that is important is we pay church taxes. I mean, it's so heavily institutionalized that if you are baptized and confirmed, you automatically pay a church tax of your income.
Yeah, tithing.
Yeah, well, yes. However, it's not 10%. It's 1% or something like that, and it's not called tithing. It's called
Better
church
deal.
tax. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It would be, wouldn't it?
But I never understood that whole thing. Like, A, why are they tax exempt? And B, what the hell do people with an omnipotent being need with money?
Yeah, that's a good question.
We need a new church, and he'd be like, "Oh, here you go. There you go. There's a church."
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense.
What I kind of find this a bit disturbing is that the Danish state church is so heavily institutionalized that the church tax is deducted from your salary automatically as soon as you're baptized, and it's a part of the tax department to deduct the church tax if you're a member of the church. So you don't pay it if you're a member of the church, if you're not a member of the church, but it's automatically and taken care of by the state to deduct the church tax if you're a member of the church.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's yeah, isn't it? So the link between the state and the church is very, very strong, and it's heavily institutionalized, much more so than people would expect. And yeah, well, so that is kind of what I grew up in, and I was trained in. So once you get into secondary school, it's completely different. When you get to we have 3 years of secondary school. It's called the gymnasium actually here, but never mind that. Yeah, it is. That's what we call it.
I did not know that. Why that though? Like,
well, they actually call it the same in Germany and in as far as I know, also in the other Scandinavian countries. However, it's a Greek word which actually means an institution for naked people, or institution for being naked. That's the actual meaning of the word. The thing is, when the Greeks back in ancient times were doing sports, they were naked, but also when they were doing science to some degree. When they were doing science and arts, it was something that you would do naked. And so in the primarily English-speaking countries, you would take the sports and connect that with the gymnasium. And in Europe, or at least the non-English-speaking countries, we would connect the gymnasium with arts and science. So secondary school here is called the gymnasium for that reason.
So did you guys have to go to class naked, or?
No, we didn't. No, we were wearing clothes. We were.
Kind of makes me think back to my high school days, where we had our gymnasium and gym classes that went on in there, and I'm like, I don't really recall running around with no clothes on. So
no. It's an etymological thing. Okay, but in secondary school, it's something completely different. There is a subject called religion, and it's no longer called Christianity, because as I did mention, in primary school it's called Christianity. In secondary school, it is called religion, and that would be about any religion actually. So
I guess they probably figure you're older enough to, I mean, if you're raised in the Christian faith of some kind, and you're older enough, you can understand without being tempted. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, well. I mean, again, I don't think that today is the official reasoning behind it. But there's definitely a very strong tradition that would have been there earlier on, and that tradition is so institutionalized that it actually just continues. What I would think would be ideal was to kind of definitely ditch the Christianity subject in primary school, and it should be replaced with something much more general, a subject about culture and culture, philosophy, and well, also religion, but with a much stronger emphasis on what has actually shaped us as a democracy and as a modern society. So what you wanted to start with would not be Christianity, but you should go much deeper into Greek philosophy and Greek science and Greek philosophy, because I think that has shaped us as a society much more actually than Christianity.
Oh, sure. It's a lot older.
And also, it is indeed. And also, if you look at us as a democracy, I think that the French philosophers of the Enlightenment should also be emphasized much more, because we have people like Montesquieu and Rousseau and Voltaire, and
I very much like Voltaire.
Yeah, and as far as I can see, what they contributed with is much more important for us as a modern society than Christianity has ever been.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. Absolutely.
Some 100 years ago, Christianity was more important, and at that time it would maybe would make more sense to have the emphasis on Christianity that we have today, but no longer. And I really think we should reconfigure our priorities.
Yeah, I would agree. I have a question actually from Spooky Bed here in the chat. If you're wondering why I'm looking down a lot, it's because I do interact with people out here. So
fine, yeah.
Spooky Bed here is wondering, think that you can opt out of paying the church taxes?
Yes, you can. You can. Okay. If you leave the church, you're not supposed to pay you're not paying church taxes anymore. So okay. I've left the church years ago, and I haven't paid the church tax since then.
So if you're still involved with the church, that's a must. You have to, or you can't opt out unless you're out of the church.
I think it's actually possible to hold a position in the church to some degree, because it's an official institution. It's an official Danish institution, so you can actually work in the church and get paid by the church and not be a member of it.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure that person I was talking about who was excommunicated, I'm not sure that he was actually fired.
He was just no longer considered a Christian?
A member of he was not considered a member of the Danish church, at least.
Okay.
Maybe he was considered a Christian, but not a Lutheran evangelical one.
Okay. And I guess they.
But again,
want that.
I have to make a disclaimer here. I don't know many details about that one case.
Okay. You're just telling us kind of what you knew about it.
Yeah, definitely. And it may sound much more dramatic than it has actually been. But as far as I know, an excommunication actually happened.
Okay. Of a member, too, which is... Like, you don't know any details behind why they excommunicated him?
Again, the reason why was that the person was at the same time a member of a different religious organization.
Oh,
and right. that was the one that was actually the only one reason for doing so.
Okay. Now, growing up and being around all this stuff, were you actually yourself ever a believer? And did you like to proselytize to others, anything like that?
Proselytizing to others, never.
Good on
you. No. I never had that. I never had that kind of conviction. When week after week you're told these stories, and to some extent it's kind of implied that this is the truth somehow, and I remember from an early age that I was kind of conflicted, because they told all this in Christianity, in the subject of Christianity, and all these other things that were obviously in conflict with it in all the other subjects we had in school. So, I mean, I was aware of there being sign of conflict, definitely.
Me too.
But still, yeah. But still, I mean, you can't help experiencing year after year, week after week, getting this weekly dose of Christianity, not to kind of, I mean, if you're taught in school, it has to have some weight. I mean, they can't lie to me in school now, can they? So I guess Well, maybe they did after all, but I only at a later age I finally found out. But
Yeah.
I guess I thought that it had to have some weight, because if they're teaching it in school, it has to be true somehow.
Something
So
behind it.
yeah, exactly. So I guess I did have some kind of belief in something, some kind of spirituality, and well,
Which
it was, I would
technically
say,
means something different to everyone I've ever spoken to. Like when I say, okay, well, describe what you mean by spirituality, I get
yeah.
a laundry list of different ideas of what spirituality is.
Yeah, exactly, and so do I. And I've come to the conclusion, or I mean, or it's my opinion now, that if I have no idea what the word spirituality actually means. I have no idea. People say they're spiritual. Well, good for them. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I have
whatever
to
it
admit.
means to
Yeah.
you, good luck with it.
Sorry.
Whatever it means to that person, good luck with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't and I wouldn't say that in any condescending way really, but
No,
sure,
no.
good if it works for you, fine, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, that's pretty much the exact term I would use. That's one of my favorites,
Yeah.
actually. Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, exactly. So, but okay, so well, if I should describe my way through this undefined spirituality, so I remember I was kind of flirting a bit with Christianity, I guess, in secondary school, high school, if you like. I was wearing a crucifix for a year or so. More because I thought it looked cool, and I noticed that the lead singer of one of my favorite bands at that time, Paradise Lost. Don't know if you know them. They're a great band. A fantastic band, and I absolutely loved their lyrics, because their lyrics were ungodly, actually. Still, the lead singer, I owned a VHS tape with one of their concerts, and I noticed that the lead.
Hold it. Did you just say VHS tape?
VHS tape, yes. I owned a VHS tape with one of their concerts.
You guys remember those things?
We are old guys. We know what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
We get into that later, but I also
on the VHS tape, actually.
You did what? Sorry?
I think I still have one of our first shows as a band on a VHS tape somewhere. Hopefully I've lost it because it was a terrible recording.
Okay, but anyway. I actually didn't know that you played in a band. Which instrument did you play?
I'm the vocalist, actually.
Oh, you're the vocalist. Fantastic. I used to play in my high school years. I played the bass in a metal band.
I need a bass player. Too bad you don't live here.
Yeah. That's a pity, isn't it? It's a bit long to travel, I'm afraid.
Hell of a commute, yeah, for practice.
Later on, I picked up the bagpipe.
Awesome. I love bagpipes.
Yeah. That's a different story.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the lead singer, Nick Holmes is his name. He wore a cross, and I thought, well, if he can wear a cross, I can wear a cross.
Yeah, sure.
It doesn't have to mean that much, but then again, I guess there was some kind of vague, you can call it spirituality again. Maybe there's something we can't be sure that there is nothing. So why not just believe that there could be something?
Maybe he just wore it because he's into torture devices.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, it was never much, and it was kind of on that level, and never evolved into anything serious. And it was actually a very good point that you that you made in that question, was I ever proselytizing? And no, I definitely never ever was. So so I never was a strong believer.
Okay, so it was just kind of a back of your mind thing, or?
Sorry?
I said it's kind of just in the back of your mind kind of thing.
Yeah. It would have been, yeah.
A higher power kind of belief, or?
Yeah, something to the effect of that. Yeah. I remember when I was studying, because I was actually studying, and I've got a degree in sociology of religion. So I found the subject very, very interesting, to an extent where I wanted to have worked with it professionally. And I've got a degree in sociology of religion. Unfortunately, I never got a job where I could actually use it. I would have loved to teach myself in secondary school. Also, I had a very, very inspiring teacher who was teaching religion in secondary school. So
very cool.
So there's something there as well. And through the years when I went to university, and at some time my grant ran out. I mean, we have state grants here. For some years, you actually get money to go to university or to get yourself an education. It's fantastic, and every country in the world should have that.
I agree.
Yeah. Once that ran out, I worked in the postal services, and I actually had a very good life, and I wasn't really doing much. I was working a bit. I was living comfortably in the dorm, and I generally felt really, really great. And I thought, well, maybe there's a God somewhere looking after me, and that would, I guess, that would have been the strongest expression of any religious thought that I would have ever had in my life.
You didn't. No. Finish what you're going to say.
No. I was actually finished. So you go on with the question.
I just was going to ask you if there was ever any other type of beliefs. Like, did you get into any of the polytheism or paganism or anything like that? Being in, we would consider like a Nordic kind of area. Did you follow any of those sort of belief type systems?
Not really. No, I did end up getting married to a pagan, though. A northern religion pagan. Got divorced later on, but that's a different story. And it wasn't because of it, and it wasn't because of any conflicts between my atheism and her religiosity. I mean, that would not at all. That would have been the least of it. But I did write my master's degree on northern paganism and how it's practiced today. Yes, so there was an interest there, but never to an extent where I was starting to believe it myself.
Right. See,
Sorry.
I said I fell into that myself along the way, along my route away from beliefs. I did go through the whole paganism thing myself.
I understand, and it's kind of tempting because it's a very fascinating world, and yes. I understand why people would like to go into that, because I absolutely like that mythology and those stories a lot myself. And there's some fantastic renderings of them. I mean, they are good stories.
Absolutely,
at least
that's the attraction, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Still, but if you read them, if you actually read them in their original forms, because most people read the stories in digested versions, in versions that have been converted into something you can actually read. If you read them in the original script, if you read them out of Snorri's Edda, for example,
mm-hmm.
It's insane. It's complete insanity. The northern myths are the weirdest, most insane thing I have maybe ever read. It's because some skilled writers afterwards have have written them into something that is actually understandable. I mean, it's absolute insanity, and it makes completely and utterly no sense if you read them as they were originally written.
Well, I mean, there's lots about all kinds of different belief systems that makes absolutely no sense. So that's not at all surprising.
No, you're right. Okay, where did we get to? Oh yeah. So well, I really like this conversation and the wind it down way it's going.
For
so
sure.
let's just continue with that. But if the day I officially converted, so what would happen over the years was it would be dissipating more and more, this spirituality, to an extent where one day I would say, I remember I made you mentioned VHS early on. Now I'll mention MySpace.
You started that.
Oh yeah, I did. I mentioned that.
Shift on to me, man. Yes, at MySpace. We actually had a MySpace page too for the band. Like I haven't looked at it in over 3-4 years now. I think probably.
I haven't neither on my own MySpace account. I made one for my pipe band back in the day as well. I actually thought it was cool to work with.
Yeah.
I did learn some HTML by working with it. So, but anyway, I remember.
It was a good format for what it was.
Yeah, it was. Still, I remember that I called myself on MySpace. I called myself an agnostic.
Okay.
And then some years later, I started a Facebook account, and suddenly came over me. No, I don't want to be an agnostic. Now I'll call myself an atheist. And I didn't know exactly why I did that, but it felt more right. And what I kind of, maybe a post-rationalization, but what I would say the difference back then was, well, I don't know if there is a God, and there could be, because we can't really know, given God's nature and all that. But when
which is still undecided as well, by the way, his nature.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and you're already ahead of me, because when I was thinking further down that line, trying to figure out why actually would I call myself an atheist now, the thing that made me take that step was, I don't really need a God. Well, maybe we can't say if there is a God or not, but if we can't say if there's really a God or not, we don't need a God neither.
Yeah, well, especially if he's immaterial. Well, how the hell is he supposed to interact with us anyways?
Yes, exactly. So a God is not necessary. Why even doubt about him? Why not just not believe in him?
Yeah, I agree.
That's the rationalization that made me an atheist, I guess.
Just so you guys know, he was at a beer fest before this, so and I'm doing my best to catch up.
You're falling out. Yeah, sorry. You were just falling out there.
Oh, I was just saying, just to let the viewers know that you were just at a beer fest, so you're tripping over your words sometimes, or getting ahead of yourself in the speech, right? So.
Well, also my English isn't my first language, I have to admit.
You know what, man? You do it like as gracefully as I've seen anyone else doesn't have English as their first language. In fact, you sound better than me sometimes. So, and English is my first language, and I stumble over my shit all the time. So really, it's
yeah. Would you mind if I just run out and grab one myself, because my mouth is running really dry now?
And he's watching me drink here, and he's like, "Fuck, I need to get one."
Exactly.
Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it.
Just a sec.
I tell you what, though, while he's doing that, I could probably go and get myself one too. But then, what do you guys do? I mean, you're sitting there just watching us run around and grabbing beer. That's not really fair to you guys, is it? So I guess I'll wait until he's back, and then we'll finish this up, and I'll grab a fresh one for the after party, which will come up after this. If you're cool with it, I don't think I even know.
I'll have something very, very Danish here, a Tuborg.
Tuborg, actually, oh man, when I was in France, I drank a whole bunch. Oh, hang on, I'm freezing up here. Am I coming through?
Now you are. You were freezing a bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's not the best connection here where I am, so I'm struggling through. Basically, when I was in France, Tuborg was one of the ones I drank a lot of because I love their bottles with the pop-up top thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with the the clasp. Yeah, which I always liked.
Oh, they still have those in France. They don't have them in Denmark anymore.
Oh no! Oh, that's too bad. Usually, what I do after these things is we do an after party, and you have a few friends jump in, and they can also get to know you a little bit. If you're up for that, you still have maybe another hour or so.
Well, I am actually. I have to go to work tomorrow, but I'll jump in and be there for as long as I can.
Sure. Okay. Before we do that, let's just go. I want to talk a little bit about your channel. So, first of all, you talk about what you do on your channel, and so I found it kind of interesting that you mix the whole beer in there with, and then you also bring up religious type topics as well. So, what prompted you to start this?
I've been blogging about beer for lots of years. I started back in 2010. I've got a Danish beer blog. And I have that for, mostly just for kicks. It's a hobby that I like to. I love beer, so I thought, why not write about it? I mean, it's as simple as that. And so what I do on my beer blog is I do write about beer, but I also write about myself.
Okay.
The most important thing about my beer blog is to give people a good reading experience, and it's really about that. It's not so much about the beer, really. I could write about anything as long as they get a good reading experience. That is the most important thing, and I guess that would also be the philosophy on my channel. I'm still in kind of could call it struggling. I'm kind of taking it, doing it as it goes. One of the points also is that while I'm doing my beer blogging on my blog, I'm also writing about myself, my experiences, and also a lot about religion and a lot about politics, and I will do that on the channel as well. So
very cool.
I'll be kind of mirroring a lot of the things that I do on my blog and my channel as well. But still, I am, as it were, struggling a bit with the channel because I
just noticed you only have 54 subscribers. Guys, he's got great content and he is criminally undersubbed. So if you haven't subbed to him, get over there and do that now, because he is just the way he talks about beer. I instantly fell in love with the channel because it just, I don't know, maybe we have similar ideas about beer or just, I don't know, but I just thought it was great. So
I just hope I'm not boring people.
No. Well, you're not boring me. So
okay,
and in my worldview, that's all that matters.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, beer channels generally aren't too popular. I'm looking at other beer channels. If I can make a shout out now, if you're interested in beer and beer channels, you should definitely go and check out Tasting Niche. Tasting Niche, and also the Master of Hobbits. Tasting Niche is you heard of him? Yeah, he's a Danish. He's another Danish beer blogger or vlogger actually, and he's been active for many years. I think he was active when I started writing about beers. So he has loads of content on his channel. And then there's Niche. Niche is from Oregon, and
almost neighbors with me.
What she does is really cool because she's not just making reviews.
Very cool. Oregon she might as well be my neighbor.
yeah, almost. Yeah. Also, it is actually a bit unusual that Niche is a woman. Which,
okay.
Yes, of course it's okay. It is unfortunately a bit unusual. There are much too few women talking about beer and appreciating good beer.
I agree.
So that would be another reason for following her as well. So
I will definitely check it out.
Sorry?
I said I will definitely check it out for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I will do beer reviews and throw in here and there some funny stuff. I mean, in the latest video, I showed my babushka dolls. I've got a babushka doll of the Russian and Soviet presidents and how they go into each other.
Right. That's right. It's a good one too. You guys should go check it out. It's pretty funny.
And the most funny thing to do, it also took a hell of a lot of work. That was when I was debunking a flurfer while drinking industrial. That was great fun to make, but it also took a hell of a lot of time. The problem is I'm working full time, and I'm a divorced dad, so half of the time I've got my kids, and when I work and I have my kids, I don't have the time to do peer reviews. So it's so my time is and resources are kind of limited. So right. I have to do the reviews in between all the other stuff that I do.
And we appreciate it. Well, I do anyways. So that's just another reason to check out his channel, guys, because his content may not be every single day, but when he does put something out, there's a lot of thought behind it and stuff like that. And it's always enjoyable to watch what you do. So.
Also, check out the band whose music I'm using.
Wait, it's not mine?
You know, send me a sample if it. Sorry,
Godless Cranium uses my stuff in his videos.
Oh, he does. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Oh, he's very cool. He's one of my favorite YouTubers as well.
A super nice guy too, by the way.
Yeah,
I will on Twitter. I'll give you a link to my SoundCloud. You can check it out. It's not like super heavy industrial, progressive kind of stuff that like the Napalm Deathy stuff. We're more classic rock feel. We have some acoustic. Yeah. We have heavier edge, lighter edge. We like to show our influences. So, and we have influences like ranging from like Zeppelin, Sabbath to modern stuff like Tool and Alice in Chains, and, stuff like that. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Anything else you want to get out there before I call this one a closed case?
Yeah, maybe I will. I would like to tell about when I left the church.
Okay.
So
sure.
And a bit about a new development, because I just entered the board of the Danish Atheist Association actually. So now I'm officially a part of the Danish Atheist Society. The board of that actually. I'm the second suppliant, so I am I'm as low as you can be in the board, but I'm still a member of the board, and I'm kind of proud of that. So when I left the church, and the great thing that they do, or we do, I should say now, is that we make it easy to leave the church. Nowadays, we actually made sure that you can leave the Danish church through a web page. You
Wow.
can put in your information, and you send an email, and that will effectively make you leave the church. When I had to leave the church, I actually had to go to a church office and tell someone sitting there, I would like to leave the church.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left the church. It wasn't a big deal, but I still had to actually go there and have it done.
Oh.
So we're trying to make that much more easy.
So now you can just
I
send
remember
an email saying, "Fuck you, Jesus, I'm out of here."
Something to the effect of that. I do. For some reason, it was extremely undramatic, but I still remember it almost second from second. Going there, telling the lady, "Hello, I would like to leave the church," and the lady said, "Okay, fill out this." I filled out that. Got a new. I got a new birth certificate. On which it was mentioned that I had left the church, and I left, and I never looked back.
Wonderful. Yeah. It's good to hear.
And the reason for it was that the church minister, we have that in Denmark. We have a minister as part of government who takes care of church affairs, and she thought that it would be a very, very good idea for the official Danish church to proselytize amongst Muslims.
Oh,
and that's, I guess, that was what made me make the decision to, okay, this is not a club for me in any way whatsoever. Right. I'm out of here.
Yeah, wise choice.
Wanted to add that as well. Gave me the final push.
Those elephants I was talking about bouncing around upstairs. Just in case you guys don't know, I'm at my sister's place doing this because I came to visit for the weekend, and there's little ones upstairs. There's 4 of them, all between the ages of 1 and 7, and they're running around up there like a bunch of little maniacs. Also,
I can't hear them.
Oh, good. So it's not coming through, which is good.
No.
Also, welcome everyone from who's joined us from Insects Are Cool's very first Q&A live stream. I hope you guys had a good time. And obviously, Adriana, you know I would have been there if this wasn't going on. But so I'll have to check it out and see what happened in your video after this, or later after the party. But anyways, I was going to ask you this earlier, since I don't actually know, and only if you're cool with it. What is your actual name?
Oh, it's Kai. Kaj.
Yeah. Kai. Okay. All right. And now I know.
Yes. That's that's a funny story to that as well. Greater Sapien and Steve McRae can't pronounce my name incorrectly. There are videos of them botching the pronunciation of my name absolutely horribly, and it's a laugh for me. I don't mind, because it's making me laugh every time I hear it.
Steve can be a funny guy. That's for sure.
And I have huge respect for Greater Sapien. He makes some very, very good content as well.
Yes, he does. And I'm hoping that someday he'll come on my show as well. But I think currently he's not even aware that I exist yet, but we'll fix that.
Yeah, definitely. We should. You should fix that. Get him on your show.
Yeah, I dig his content. A lot of it is really, really cool.
It is.
Jai. All right. Kai. Yes, people are trying to figure out your name in the
Kaj. They both mispronounced it the same way.
Well, the J's are silent in other languages. People, come on, you should know this.
It's more like pronounced like an I in my name.
Okay.
My name can my name can be spelled in a number of ways, and there are different traditions in different countries on how you spell it. So they would spell it with an I in Germany, like with a J in Denmark and Sweden, and with a C in other countries, or with a Y at the end.
So it's I like Kai because it's the name of one of the Lego Ninjago guys. And the 8-year-old inside me comes out yet again.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get that. You cut out again.
Oh, yeah, I'm on a very iffy thing here, but
I know.
I said Kai is the name of one of my favorite characters on the Lego Ninjago show. So.
Ah, right, cool.
But I just watched the second.
That's
Lego.
a bit Danish. Yeah, of course. That's a bit Danish as well. Lego.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And when they started out, they didn't actually make the little bricks. They used to make other toys, and then eventually the bricks came about after that. So.
Yes, that's true.
All right, well, Kai, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this with me. I think
You're welcome.
Everything that we need to, and we can carry on this conversation in some form, in a bit of an after party. And you're welcome to stay as long as you're not even obligated to join it, but I always like to encourage my guests to jump in for a little bit. Anyways,
it's an honor to be on your channel.
Oh, thank you, sir. I can say the same. It's an honor to have you on. And thanks everyone for tuning in. And thank you to all the people that were watching Insects Are Cool's first live stream. I'm actually happy that you were there giving her a watch over hanging out in my usual stuff. But it's very cool because she's got great content as well. And you guys, if you haven't seen my interview with Insects Are Cool, you can check out in my deconversion story videos, and it's there. And I will label this one a deconversion story after it's done. It doesn't let you do that when you set these up for some reason, but I have to edit it afterwards. All right, so anyone who would like to get involved with the after party, I will put a link in the Usual Suspects group, and if you're not in that group, just hit me up directly on Twitter and I'll send you a link. Once again, man, thanks so much for doing this with me. I had a great time. Sorry about the bad connection. Did you catch that?
We manage. Am I coming through clearly? I guess I do, because you would have complained if I didn't, I guess.
That's okay. All right, everyone. We'll see you guys next time. And remember what I always say at the end of these things, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. All right, peace out, guys.